Good morning, everybody. Sorry, I'm getting myself set up here. Good morning and welcome to the Hypertrophic Cardiomyopathy Association's Facebook page and Tales from the Heart, a podcast by the HCMA. This morning, we're going to do things a little bit differently. I'm going to kind of take us through the past year, some of the highlights, some of the things that were accomplished. I'm going to give you a sneak peek as to what's going to be happening in 2022. And I'm going to start in a slightly different place than I typically speak from. And that is because I had a dinner last night with a friend, and I was reminded that not everybody knows the whole story and understands exactly why the HCMA is what it is and where it came from. So as we round out a very interesting year, 2021, in so many ways for the HCM community, I wanted to take a moment to remind myself and you all as to why this crazy adventure even started to begin with. So my family story is my family story, and I've talked about it a number of times in a number of different places. And, our story with HCM really starts in 1953. We can look back further than that, and we can look at everything that's happened since. But it started with my grandfather's cardiac arrest at the age of 43. And when there's trauma in your family tree, it can take generations sometimes to really see all the manifestations of that moment in time where everything changed. Oh, I might get a little metaphysical today, so just bear with me. But families are fractured by events, and those fractures can heal over time. But those fractures, they define the future. They say, did you turn left or did you turn right in the life plan? And how did you all cope? How did you handle? Did you process the grief? Did you not process the grief? Was it a good grief process or was it not? And we don't really talk about that in society. Somebody leaves a family, somebody dies, sometimes unexpectedly, sometimes not. It changes the family, and it changes who we are as a family unit. And sometimes those changes can be devastating, and sometimes they can actually inspire. And I think we've been through a lot of those in our family. We've been devastated and we've been inspired. And I want to just take a moment and talk about the inspiration of the HCMA. So yeah, my grandfather died before I was born. It impacted my dad greatly, and his siblings, and all of the children of those people know the story. And we're coming up on another anniversary in our family. So that's painful, even though some of us didn't know that family member, it's still painful. And then we heal and we do something. So in 1995, I was bopping along with my life. I was in human resources, doing health plan administration and 401k management and organizing money purchase pension plans and doing all those HR kind of things and hiring people and performance evaluations. And that was my life. I was pregnant with our daughter and was looking forward to the life that we were going to build as a family, and everything was peachy keen. And then the phone call came that changed everything. My sister had died at the age of 36 from mismanaged HCM. And it took us a while to figure out how mismanaged she was. And anger, frustration, pity, stress. I don't know what the hell it was. Just started percolating within me. And somebody ought to do something about this problem. I literally had no idea about patient advocacy, never even heard the words before. I just knew that we needed to be conjoined as a society, as a group of people with the same disorder, same disease. And I knew we had to do something to help each other. Because at the very, very core of everything the HCMA is, I don't want to see somebody else bury their sister. And then you can replace that word sister with any family member, any loved one before their time. We all should have the opportunity to live a long, productive, happy life. Life is not always going to be perfect. There's going to be problems. There's going to be bumps in the road. There's going to be drama because we're humans and we're flawed and we're weird and we do weird things. And it's okay. It's what you do with the things that happen to you that defines character, in my opinion. So in 1995, my heart shattered into a billion pieces and my sister was gone. But I was still here. And maybe I could save somebody else from feeling what I felt. And that's where the HCMA came from. And it has been a bumpy road. I do not pretend to be an expert in nonprofit management, but I've gotten pretty good over 25 years in engaging this community and helping us build up and get organized and find healthcare and build programs. And so I did a thing, I did a thing, and I didn't do it in a silo, and I didn't do it. We did it. So I started and whatever, but I brought together a board and they help guide and they're getting more active and we're building out committees. And we have almost 400 individuals signed up to volunteer with us in the coming year. And we're going to be engaging all of those individuals into different initiatives, whether it be legislative advocacy and our HCM Act, or if it's going to be fundraising and helping us bring in the much needed revenue that we need to bring programs to more people and to bring greater awareness to HCM through educational opportunities. So we've got that. We've got the HCM Academy that's going to develop professional HCM understanding. And wow, we're able to do this now. Lori died. We built healthcare models. We're going to change more laws. And her life mattered. And her death mattered. And it's what we did with that that amazes me sometimes. And say, okay, they had an idea. We worked really hard to make this idea work. And we're able to help people. We have the Big Hearted Warrior Tour. Once a month, you're going to hear educational content in the coming year from new centers. We've already done 20 programs since the start of COVID. We were meant to do them in person. That didn't work. We actually are reaching more people through the online versions. We're able to reach thousands with one broadcast when we used to reach 150 or 200 in a room. So yay, internet. Thank you, Zoom. That was awesome. And we're going to do more of those. But we know you want more personal contact. So we built our discussion groups. And they're growing and they're becoming very well populated. And I encourage you, if you have HCM, if you have a family member diagnosed with HCM, join a discussion group. If there's not a topic that you're really interested in, you can suggest another topic to us. And if other people agree, we'll form a room for it and we'll give you a space and we'll give you the time and the platform to talk. So that'll be coming up next year as well. We have clinical trial recruitment that we're going to be helping with. Who would have thought 5 years ago that there would be multiple drugs in a new classification about to break free for us? So great, we get to have new therapies that might improve quality of life, that might even prove to prolong life. Awesome. So we're going to have to fight for that. didn't know we were going to have to fight quite so hard, because getting through a clinical trial was tough enough. But now we have to make sure people can get the drug and that it's affordable. So we're here in the office every day, working on these initiatives and working with partners behind the scenes to make sure that programs are in place so that everybody will have options to try a drug and see if it works for them when it hits market. So we'll be working more on that in the coming year. We're going to be working in the areas of health equity in the coming year. We had our first African American in HCM roundtable a week ago, and we started a very important conversation. How do we engage more people from underserved communities and communities of color into HCM care models? They're not there. Our total number of population, 90% of those we engage with are Caucasian or white as they define themselves. 60% of the US population is Caucasian. And 1 in 200 people have hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. That means Asian Americans, Hispanic Americans, Black Americans, Native Americans. They all have HCM. We have to go find them. Part of the way we're going to do that is in the well child examination. If we can get the HCM Act, the Healthy Cardiac Monitoring Act, passed, we will engage every healthcare provider during that well child exam for a child to ask about family heart history questions, which will not only spark a conversation about that child's health, but that child's parents' health. What's going on in the family? If we can do that, we can uncover not only hypertrophic cardiomyopathy that has been left undiagnosed in families, but other forms of heart disease, genetic and acquired. We can look for things like channelopathies, long QT, Brugada syndrome, ARVC, dilated cardiomyopathy. We can find it all in that visit in the doctor's office, in the healthcare system. So that's pretty awesome. We're doing it here in New Jersey. It's working. Everybody in New Jersey is asked these questions when they take their kids in for an exam, and they're starting to become better educated about what these diseases are. And while I can't quite prove it with statistics yet, it does appear at this time that the number of sudden deaths in our student athletes and our students has decreased since this law was brought into play. So we have a lot of work to do to make it perfect, but we're certainly moving in the right direction. What else can I tell you about? We're going to be reaching out for some new opportunities to do more research in HCM internally here at the HCMA with a new robust database that you're all going to be invited to be part of if you're in an HCM family, that is. So we have some really rich opportunities to develop a unique data set from the HCMA's point of view. It will be different than a clinical database, but it will include clinical features. It will reach more into the questions about living with HCM that are on the softer items, not the cardiac issues, emotional well-being, mental health services, economic impacts of HCM. There's a lot more to living with a chronic genetic heart disease than going to the cardiologist. And it's time that we open our eyes to the complete economic impact. Loss of opportunities in work or altered opportunities because of physical stamina, brain fog, etc. We just need to make sure that we understand the full burden of disease. And this is kind of where we live every day, right? This is what we talk about every day. So we are really working on so many different initiatives. I've been ranting here for a while. I'm going to go check my feed here and see if I'm boring the heck out of everybody, or if we have some questions that you guys might want to be asking. I'm more than happy to address those. Let me turn my volume down on my phone. The way this lovely system works, I have to look at my computer screen to talk to you, and then I have to jump into my phone to actually get questions. Someday we'll fix this technology and we'll do all that, but we'll see. Let me just grab this right now. Where are you guys? There I am. There you are. I have 4 comments. Who's talking to me? Tim, thank you. Stephanie, it's so good to have you on here. Stephanie just got a heart transplant about 20 days ago, and she is completely rocking it over in the UK. Lori, you're welcome. And you have one of my favorite names because you're a Lori, like my sister was a Lori. So I always see LORIs, and you'll all have a special place in my heart. Soft factors are important. If there's anything in the future getting UNOS to upgrade their criteria. All right, let's talk about that for a minute because it's a really good topic. So Lori, here's a story. Lori. January 2016, I'm on a call with UNOS about their upgrades that they were making at that time to the heart allocation system, as well as the listing criteria. There was 2 factors that they were going to make major revisions on. And I joined the call, and they allowed you to raise your hand and have your mic turned on to ask a verbal question. So I asked, because pre-2000, what was it, 2017 when they did the updates? Maybe it was 2018 they did the updates, I'm sorry, but it was in process. So when they made the updates to UNOS, they HCM was not listed at all. We were not mentioned as a disease state. We were a special exception. So we had to go before a committee to be evaluated on a case-by-case basis, every single transplant for HCM in the country. That's the way it had to work. We were not a listed. So I said to the then director of the meeting, who I think was I forget who it was. I got to go back and look that up. I need to know that name. I said, those with hypertrophic cardiomyopathy are treated very differently for listing criteria, depending upon where in the country and what center and what physicians are involved. We need to standardize this. At which point he said the best words I could have ever heard, and it's part of the document, it's part of the public meeting. He said, we are aware that HCM meets with bias review. In a second, I was angry and happy all at once. Angry that we were being treated that way, but really happy he said those words in a public meeting, because now we had to do something about it. They admitted a bias, and I immediately engaged with them and said, okay, how do we fix it? And they engaged the HCMA, UNOS engaged the HCMA, and we brought in one of our medical advisors, and we helped write the guidelines for HCM listing criteria that had never been written before. Probably one of the things I'm most proud of, and to be very honest with you. It was a major accomplishment. And in the time since we did that, so that was January of 2016, that meeting. We engage, we get a relationship, we help, we get everything organized. And then I thought I was going to the hospital for a little Lasix holiday because I wasn't feeling well. And I brought the documents with me to review while I was having a little hospital stay, because that's what most people do when they go to the hospital, they bring work. But I brought the UNOS documents with me and found myself hospitalized, finding out that I needed a heart transplant. This is the kind of stuff that makes it into books. I gotta finish the book. This gotta be part of the book. So I'm reading I'm trying to make recommendations on the listing criteria while I find out that I need to be listed myself. So I'm looking at my own data, and I'm pulling from the literature, and we're pulling this all together. And I submitted my first draft of recommendations to them, and then said, I need to take a little time off of this because I need to go get a heart now. So I listed under the old criteria. Nothing I was saying or doing was altering my listing process at all. But I got listed on an exception. And at that point, I was listed as a 1B. So it used to be 1B, 1A, and that's pretty much how it broke down. So I was listed as a 1B exception. And it took me 71 days on the list to get my heart, got better, had a meeting with UNOS that following May or June, maybe it was, I forget, when I was going back to work. And then by September, October, we had the documents written up and they went in for review. And we have the listed status of starting at a 4, which the old system, getting into details here, used to be a 2 or a 1 or 1A or 1B. Now it's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, with a 7 being a hold status. And If you are 3 or 2, you're typically hospitalized at that level, but you can be a 4 and be at home on the list or lower. So we have taken our numbers. 20 years ago, 1% of the UNOS registry was HCM. A couple of years ago, about 2 years ago, before COVID, I checked the numbers again, and we were up to almost 4% of the entire UNOS registry. And I think our number probably lives somewhere around 5%, which interestingly means 5% of the HCM population will qualify for transplant at some point. And 5% of the UNOS registry is HCM patients. So those are an interesting crossover of 2 different 5%. But I think that's kind of where we're going to stay. We're at 4-ish now, but the numbers are going up. And why are the numbers going up? Is that a good thing or a bad thing? I think it's a good thing, because we didn't get patients to HCM to transplant because they got too sick and they died. And now we have the opportunity to watch the trajectory of the disease. When all the tools in the toolbox fail, we leave HCM care, we go to advanced heart failure care, we transfer over our care to a transplant team, and we successfully transplant if possible. When we transplant, we do better than a lot of other disease states because we're otherwise healthy, except for our wonky hearts. So I think there will be some updates to the listing criterias, but they seem to be working very well right now. But everything needs to be evaluated over time, and everything needs to be updated. So I hope that we were able to do some of that work this year. So there you go. There's a conversation for you. So I hope that answers your question as to kind of where it came from, and also let you know that it's a constant evolution. And the minute you think you're done with a problem, it comes up in a different form. So let's talk about the problem of the day. And I encourage you all to look at the Facebook page for the link to the patch petition. So something's happening, ladies and gentlemen, and it's not good. And it's not just the HCM community that's affected at this moment in time. And it is December 17th, 2021. So if you're listening to this podcast later, you may know how this story ends, but I don't know how it ends right now. So what happened is CVS has decided that it doesn't want to cover certain anticoagulants any longer. Not only not cover them, but not carry them in their pharmacy. So 25% to 30% of people with hypertrophic cardiomyopathy develop atrial fibrillation. Atrial fibrillation is a common cause of stroke. So to combat stroke, we take anticoagulants to thin our blood so that we do not have strokes. Managing anticoagulants are tricky. Old anticoagulants were called warfarin or Coumadin. So, ladies and gentlemen, the scary, nasty fact about that wonderful drug that saved many, many lives is it's a form of rat poison. It thins the blood, and that's how you kill rats. You give them blood thinners and they bleed out. So we were giving humans, and we still are, a drug that is basically rat poison. And it works because we give it in tiny doses, but it's a very finicky drug, and your levels go up and down, and the amount of anticoagulation you're getting at any period of time can peak and valley, and you can be a bleed risk, and it's not nice. And you need to do INR tests to see how thin your blood is at any given time. So they came up with all of these new types of anticoagulants, and you've seen the commercials. You've seen Xarelto, and you've seen Eliquis, and you've seen other antithrombotics out there. So these anticoagulants are common, but people are fickle, and how you take these drugs matters, and compliance is an issue. So Eliquis is a twice a day drug that is highly effective for lots of people. You know, full disclosure, BMS, a sponsor of this podcast, actually is the manufacturer of this drug, but we really don't work with them on that space at all. We don't work with the Eliquis team so much. We're working with the mavacamten team over there. But it's a good drug, as are other options of anticoagulants, like Pradaxa is another one, another manufacturer. So like there are options. CVS decided that it's only going to carry Xarelto and warfarin, and that's it. And if you get your prescriptions filled there, they want you to change your anticoagulants, your antithrombotics. Who the hell are they to make that call? Isn't that the decision between the healthcare provider and the patient as to which drug is best for them, specifically in a class that is as finicky as an anticoagulant and as important as an anticoagulant? It's mind-boggling that they're doing this, and it's a price negotiation. It's a contract issue. It's a formulary issue. It relates to PBMs and this whole underworld of the pharmaceutical industry in the United States and the regulatory language surrounding that is mind-bogglingly confusing. And most patients have absolutely no idea how it works, what the real price of a drug is, who's paying what. It is so confusing. But right now, CVS wants to take away the options of millions of Americans to be on a drug that they've trusted for a long time, whether it be Pradaxa, Plavix, Xarelto, or Eliquis. They're going to make you choose Xarelto. Now, I know people who couldn't tolerate it because of GI bleeds. So where are they going to get their drugs? Where are they going to get the drug that's safe for them? Do they have to change pharmacies? What if there's only a CVS in their town and that's happening? What's going to happen? So we set up a petition with our friends at Patch about non-medically altered prescriptions. So your doctor didn't order this. Your pharmacist said, I'm going to give you this one instead. Now, in the HCM world, we know that some of us are very sensitive to generic versions of beta blockers. And we want a particular manufacturer because we know that that works for us. So the problem crosses over from whether we're talking about Eliquis today or the availability of Toprol XL tomorrow. If the pharmacies are deciding what you have access to, should they have that control? Should they be the ones who are telling you what you can get just because they're a distributor? I don't think so. I think this is a very scary place to be as a patient. I think it's a completely inappropriate place for CVS to place themselves in. And I'm incredibly disappointed that we find ourselves in this situation. So what can you do? You can use your voice. And we need a better system. Who can do that? Congress and Senate. Those are the two that can make these changes. And that's where we're going to have to start talking to them about how are you going to make sure this never happens again? How are you going to make sure that a pharmacy can't decide my medication? Who the hell are they? That is frightening. I have my own issues post-transplant with tacrolimus. I went on a generic brand of tacrolimus and it was not the same as the brand that I had been on previously. And my tacrolimus numbers plummeted, which left me vulnerable to rejection of my heart. Okay. So, and if I didn't know that if my manufacturer changes, I should check my levels. I could have left my levels down there for months and been at risk for rejecting my heart. I knew that manufacturer changes can affect levels. So in that case, I took action. Nobody told me to. I had to be my own advocate. There's a theme in there. So we have some really complicated issues going on in our world. And we have to figure them out. Oh, you have some more questions here. Ross, do you know any more about non-medical switching? I got my Eliquis. Yep. Oh yeah, I was just ranting on that one. So yes, so Ross has posted the link to the change.org petition to stop this practice and maybe bring some more awareness to this. You are very welcome, Susan. I wish you a good holiday too. It's very nice. Okay. So what else can I tell you about the year behind us and the year ahead? Other interesting things we worked on last year. We put a brand new website out for you and we're learning how to use it better. There's so many new tools that we have available to us to help do our work. So thank you to everybody who helped bring that to fruition. We had volunteers, staff, board members all working on that, volunteers that were helping do some of the back end writing, Dr. Harry Lever, who did lots of editing for us. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Sabrina, Ross, Gordon, fantastic job on that project. And now we're able to use new tools. And I'm really happy to tell you, if you want to become a volunteer for the HCMA, all you need to do is go to the website, click on a box, tell us what kind of things you want to volunteer in. And as of right now, we have nearly 400 people signed up to be volunteers, and we're about to start deploying big projects where all of our volunteers can get involved for just a few minutes a day or a couple of hours a month, depending upon what you want to do, that you can help spread awareness, help raise money, help improve education of medical community. You have a lot of different options available to you now that you can get involved and help us. So we're really excited to bring our team out to you, to engage you, to become part of our team. And teamwork makes the dream work, people. Yeah, I'm the founder of the organization. I built things, I built infrastructure, but now it's time that we take a bigger step out into the world. Okay. There's a lot of work to be done, and we need a lot of hands to help us get there. So I encourage you to sign up, become a volunteer, and get engaged. We have a platform that makes it easy to engage with us. We have programs coming up. If you want to be part of a discussion group, you can join one. You can volunteer to run one. If you want to be involved in legislative advocacy, we'll give you a space to do that. If you want to help us on a health equity committee, you can help us there. Patient education committee is looking for some people too. Each committee will have between 10 and 15 members so that the lifts will be easy for all and not too burdensome for one. And we can get out there and start really changing the world. In February, we are going to be doing something pretty amazing. It's Heart Month, as y'all know. And when we go through Heart Month, we are going to feature an HCM Warrior of the Day. These are people who have volunteered through our Share Your Story system. And we've picked a number of people who you'll be getting, you've already got your emails that you've been invited. And we're going to fill the month with faces of HCM. Some of them are deceased. Some of them are very inspirational stories. And some of them, thankfully, are very average family stories living with HCM. So it doesn't always have to be that dramatic living with HCM, but some of you get some stories, man. Some of you blow my mind and inspire me every single day with what you have endured and how you do it with grace, dignity, maybe a little humor, sometimes a little anger, well placed. So it's amazing what we can do together. So we're going to have that month, and we are also going to have a particular day of that month that we will be announcing in about 3 weeks' time. That will be our official HCM Awareness Day. And we're going to have activities for you all to participate in, including a live broadcast. We're going to try all day long from the HCMA to you and to the community through YouTube and hopefully Facebook, and hopefully finding a way to do that through LinkedIn too, to basically run like a day-long telethon on HCM. So we're going to have fun with that one. There's so much coming up. Oh, last year, what else did we do? Icer, the Icer review, the economic review of mavacamten. So I got to tell you, it was a learning experience. And it wasn't all good, and it wasn't all bad. We know we have a problem in this country on how we bring a product to market for pharmaceutical industry or device. It seems to be more about stockholders than patients at times. It seems to be more about the pharmacy access points and what the pharmacies want to pay, and what the PBMs, plan benefit administrators, want the price to be. And there's a lot of moving parts behind the scene. And we engaged with Icer this year to have an in-depth conversation about the pricing. But it seemed, rather than talking about the overall cost to a family of living with HCM, they really only wanted to talk about the cost of a particular drug, with very limited information about who it really is going to serve, because the FDA hasn't even finished their evaluation yet. We don't know how it's going to be prescribed, to whom, by whom. We don't know any of that, but they want to price it, which I thought was a little preemptive, which I communicated to them through the whole process. This is great, but I think you're premature. This is great, but I think you're premature. At the end of the day, I think we won a few battles in the Icer review, but I don't necessarily know that there was ever going to be a full out win for the patients. The drug company, in this case, BMS, is going to price the drug as they see they have to, or they want to, whatever the word is there. What we're going to do as patients is we're going to try to get the drugs prescribed and filled and get access to them. But the other people that are behind the scenes that aren't our doctor and aren't the drug manufacturer, but that pathway to get the drug to you, it's a very complicated, confusing path. And we need to do more to make that more transparent. And we have to do more to make sure that while the process is happening, no matter the drug, no matter it's cardiovascular, cancer, neurologic, whatever the drug, the patient community has to be engaged formally from the beginning, from the very, very beginning, because we're the ones who want and need these new medications. We're the ones who decide value. Models can't express life. They're models. They're not meant to be perfect. And they admit that they know that the systems are flawed, but patient input is more than what some refer to as contextual considerations. Our life has value. Our quality of life has value. And the way our quality of life is measured is problematic. And I could go off for like 4 hours on this, but I'm not going to go there today because it's a deep conversation that's highly complex, and we need to build education on that. And we need to help you understand what's going on out there and who the players are and how your voice can be used. So over the next year, you're going to see podcasts switch up a little bit. We will have, drum roll. Next year's podcast, Tales from the Heart, every Friday will be live streamed here on Facebook and recorded, uploaded to the podosphere, we'll call it, by the following Tuesday or Wednesday. And those podcasts are going to be standing podcasts with some guests and rotating for others. So we're going to have a standing podcast with Dr. Marty Marin once a month on a Friday, and you'll see the schedule on our website. We will have a rotating every other month between Dr. Stephen Amman of the Mayo Clinic and Dr. Harry Lever of the Cleveland Clinic. We will then, on the alternating weeks of the month, have a special guest, either an author of a recently published paper, a special guest named Alex, who you're going to meet probably in January, who is an HCM warrior, becoming an HCM physician. So he's going to meet us quarterly, and he's going to discuss his perspective of living with HCM and then living in the treatment and service of others with HCM. So we're going to be meeting with Dr. Alex, who I came to know his family when he was a young man needing a myectomy. Mom contacted the HCMA, and now he's an HCM doctor. So I just love his story. So he's going to be a quarterly guest. We're going to be working with some of our industry partners on a very specific agenda, and that is to help grow the knowledge of the HCM community in the area of genetics. So we all understand HCM is not a autosomal-dominant genetic disorder, meaning you only need one copy and you can get HCM. And we can use genetic testing for screening. But things are happening, and we might be able to genetically correct some forms of HCM in the not too distant future. So we want to make sure that everybody is slowly learning a little bit more about genetics and how they function, how the genetic mutations in HCM cause dysfunction, and how there might be some properties to create fixes for some of these mutations. So rather than having them come to market in a couple of years and then having to help educate everybody at once, what we're trying to do here at the HCMA is build a curriculum throughout the year. So you'll start the year with a certain level of genetic knowledge. And if you tune into 4 podcasts throughout the year, you will gain your knowledge. And by the end of the year, you're going to understand how genetic therapies might actually be mainstream in the not too distant future. So that's going to be part of the podcasting. And then the other week we are going, so we have typically 4 weeks out of the month. Occasionally there's a fifth Friday, and ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to be taking that one off. But the other Friday will be other HCM Center of Excellence partners who will be joining us on a rotating fashion. And there's going to be some other content that will be regularly scheduled. And you'll know well in advance, about 6 weeks in advance, who the podcast guests are. And there might be a patient story. They may be a partner story, another organization that we're working with. So we'll probably do one with Women Heart. That may not be a Friday podcast. That might be another day, and it might be a webinar. So we're working on all of this new content for you. What else? So, drug trials, genetic knowledge, new guests, new programming, more volunteers, more pretty much everything we've been doing, and in a more organized manner, because we have a great infrastructure system, new, HCM registry, more educational outreach. So that's pretty much what I'm doing for the next 54 weeks of my life. What else do we have to say out here? I'm going to wrap up in just a second. Thank you all for joining us live. Excuse me for the cough. Donations there. Okay. I want to end on a happy and sad note. And I want to talk about a couple of things that have happened in the last couple of days. As many of you know, there have been, as I talked about earlier, more and more and more transplants in HCM, ICD saves in HCM patients, and more people living, thriving, and surviving with HCM. I got a beautiful message a couple weeks ago from a woman who called to tell us that her mother had passed away. But Bernice was 95 years old when she passed away. Bernice celebrated her 84th birthday at a previous HCMA meeting where Dr. Joe Durani held her birthday cake so she could blow out her birthday candle on her 84th birthday cake. She had had a myectomy the year before, and Dr. Durani was her surgeon. She passed away at the age of 95. And her daughter called and said, thank you, because the last 11 years of her life were amazing. She did really well after her surgery. And one story like that, I'm good for months on that. I can float on that for a long time. That's really good news. But we got hit with some hard news this week. Some tough stuff happened, or we were made aware. I spoke to the widow of a 27-year-old who didn't get the diagnosis in a proper way, opportunities missed. And by the time they realized what was going on, he needed an emergent transplant, and there just wasn't time to get him there. Breaks your heart, shatters your heart, shattered a family. He's a 10-month-old child. Spoke to the mother of a young man who had an aspiring acting career, contracts with big people, Disney, Nickelodeon, that level. And this young man died a number of years ago. And he will be one of the faces of HCM that we feature through the month of February to tell Caleb's story. Mom shouldn't bury kids from HCM. Spoke to another woman this week whose son was diagnosed and unfortunately did not get a defibrillator in time and had a cardiac arrest at the age of 17. I've been doing this work for 25 years. I will never, ever, ever, ever get used to those conversations. It's impossible. But every time I hear them, it ignites that thing that gnawed at me in 1995 when my sister died. We can do better. We can learn. We can fight. We can get organized. We can give tools and weapons to defend ourselves with, right? So those are 3 calls this week. And then the really bad one came. The news that long-term HCMA member and my friend, Mary Sharp, passed away while waiting for a heart transplant. I don't know all the details. I know she had extreme amounts of pain and went to an emergency room and got treated for some pain and died a few hours later. That's all I know. Mary was a kind soul. And it hurts to lose. It really hurts to lose. And you lose the friendship. You lose the camaraderie. You lose that special presence in your life. And it will never be replaced because we're individuals. We're unique. We're beautiful. We're flawed. We're all kind of crazy in our own way. And I will never forget going to Disney World with Mary and the joy on her face walking through Disney. She worked there. She had a pass. I was there for a conference. She goes, let's go to Disney World. So I went to Disney World with her. And she was just joy, simple joy. Loved Disney. Loved the culture. She loved Disney. So I hope she has her own magic kingdom wherever she is and that she's having fun. And she's HCM free and she's able to run and ride a motorcycle and do all the things she wants to do. So it was a rough week, but there are people out there fighting and we're here to fight for them and with them and take on these battles to make life for those with HCM a little bit better and to bring information, education, inspiration, whatever we can do to make the journey with HCM a little better along the way. So it is now 12:19 on December 17th, and I'm going to sign off and give a shout out. I don't do this often. I'm going to give a shout out to my husband. And why? Because on December 19th, 1982, we went skiing on our first date. And as I said, the rest is history. So happy anniversary, baby. I love you. And I will talk to you all on Monday, where I will be back with Dr. Marty Marin, where we're going to do a little bit of a wrap up on HCM for the year. And our topic is gratitude for the month. So we're going to take a look at the things that we're grateful for in HCM care and management and the things that we have to look forward to in the coming year that we have to be grateful for in all things HCM. Let me just double check for any last questions. Thank you, Lori. I appreciate that. And I wish you all a great day. Take care. Now if I can figure out how to stop.